I like running fast times, but for me, the most important thing is beating people. And if I run a fast time in a race and don't win, I'm happy, but winning is probably the most important thing to me. So winning an NCAA title it would be like the best way to go out.
That was Margot Appleton today on the Running Effect podcast. Today, I have the privilege of speaking with one of the fastest milers, not just in the NCAA this year, but in the NCAA all time. So far this outdoor season, she ran a time of 4:05.68 at the 2025 Raleigh Relays, which ranks her the fourth fastest in collegiate history. Another wild performance from this year was she clocked a 4:21.46 mile split to close out the DMR and win a 2025 Penn Relays title, win a wheel, take one home for UVA. It was their first win in a DMR event since 1982. And so she's been on fire. She's contributing to UVA, her legacy there, the legacy of the team, and she's been very, very good for many years now. So I've known that Margo is always going to come on the podcast, and it was a privilege to finally make this one happen. You guys are going to learn about insights from her training, why she doesn't use a GPS watch, being recruited to UVA, her relationship with Vin Lanana, who's just a legend in the sport, her ambitions for her final NCAA outdoor championships, and her thoughts on the future and what she wants to do in the sport. If you enjoy this one, please hit the follow or subscribe button wherever you're listening to this so that you never miss another episode. Give us a 5-star review. It takes 5 seconds. And share the podcast with a friend, a family member, a teammate, someone who you think would find value and benefit from it. And without further ado, enjoy my conversation with one of the best runners in the NCAA right before she attacks history next month in Eugene, Margot Appleton. Margot Appleton, welcome to the Running Effect podcast. How are you doing this afternoon?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
We said this 2 seconds before hitting the record button, but you graduated this past weekend. Congratulations. What does it feel like being a pro runner now? No classes to go to, just running.
Yeah, it's good. I always love this time of year when it's just like running and no school, and it's kind of weird being like totally done, but I'm like excited, to just focus on running for a little bit and just like enjoy Charlottesville without having to go to classes and focus on training.
Is it crazy to you how fast time flies by? I feel like that's a pretty mutually agreed upon subject across the world. It's just like time flies by so fast, and you probably felt like you were a freshman yesterday.
Yeah, I feel like some semesters went by slower than others. But like overall, it definitely feels like I haven't been here for that long, and college does go by really fast. And I know everyone says that, but it really does.
Were you sad to graduate? Happy? What were the emotions?
Definitely happy to be done with school. Like I've loved my classes here, some of them, and had great professors, but I'm excited to be done with school for now. And I'm definitely going to be sad to leave UVA. I have like great friends here, and it's a great place to be. So I'm going to be sad about that.
What was your favorite class you took while you were there during your 4 years, and least favorite? What's like a horror story of like you had to get in the paper, but you had to race that day or something?
My favorite was probably neuroscience of exercise. I had a really good professor there, and he just talked like a lot of like real life applicable, like how later on in life exercise can be so important for your brain health. So that was really interesting. In my least favorite class, but my favorite professor, was a computer science class I took that I didn't really have to take, but it went towards my major, which is cognitive science. And it was like Java, and I like was miserable. It was last spring semester, and I was in office hours like every day. I realized I'm not going to be a computer scientist. But my professor was really helpful and helped me get through it, but I hated that class.
Speaking on like the side of, studying cognitive science, what's the intersection with that and your running pursuits? And do you feel like it helped or gave you greater like insight and perspective into some of the more unique aspects of the sport rather than like if you had studied history or English or business?
Honestly, I think the most helpful thing with my major was I could kind of take whatever classes I wanted because it's interdisciplinary. So I got a wide range of things. And like after taking some harder classes earlier on this past year, I got to like really make my schedule as easy as I wanted it to be. And I think kind of experiencing the harder classes and then switching over to an easier schedule helped a lot with my running. So
I feel like a lot of people don't know how prestigious UVA is. I think their like acceptance rate is in the teens. Were your classes pretty hard for you? Did you come from a pretty academic background? And was it hard going to a school that's like kind of in a select few where they're really good academically, but they're also really good within the sport? And not to hate on any schools, but like in NAU, it's like you're only there to run. Like no one's
yeah,
going to NAU for academics.
yeah, most of the schools I looked at in high school were like about UVA academics level. And honestly, looking back, I think maybe I would have chosen a school like less academic, more focused on running. But obviously, getting a good degree is so important. And yeah, it's definitely hard balancing both. But I went to a like boarding school, which was like preparatory for college. So I think that prepared me pretty well. And now that it's done, I can say I'm really glad I went here and got the UVA degree because running only lasts so long.
On the running side and perspective of things, how exciting is it to you to, have a month left in the NCAA and to be fully locked in, conferences out of the way? Now it's regionals, nationals. How excited are you for this next month just to lock in?
Yeah, I'm really excited. This next month goes by so fast. I feel like we're in the middle of the season. NCAA seems so far away. And then once you start traveling and after conference, it comes up really fast. But I'm excited. I mean, this is what I've been preparing for, like, especially even in the winter. I feel like my eyes were more set on outdoor. So yeah, it's cool that it's finally time to like let that fitness pay off and get to race. I like my favorite part of running is racing, and I just am really excited for like the bigger meets because that's what I look forward to all season.
With your final year at Virginia and the NCAA, has it been weird, nostalgic, like racing some of these final races for the last time, whether it's ACCs or like a random season opener and knowing like, oh, it's my last time doing this?
Yeah, I think this weekend it kind of hit me that it was like my last ACCs. Um, yeah, it's weird, and I feel like I haven't really thought about it fully, but definitely when it's all said and done, I think I'm gonna be like, wow, my college running career is over. But right now, I feel like you're always looking towards the next one. So ACC's done, and I'm looking towards regionals. But it's definitely weird. Like my last time competing with the team, and like my last few races running for Virginia, it's sad but exciting too.
What are some of the ways in training or from a mindset perspective or anything that like you kind of turn the dial up with a month ago going into NCAAs?
I think I kind of try to like pull back a little bit and like really get my body feeling good. I've been like eating out every meal, and now I'm like, okay, time to like be home, rest, cook for myself, like get my body kind of ready to go. But also just I'm trying right now to not like get too stressed about NCAAs and regionals and just relax and be ready to go. But once like it's leading up to the race, I try to not get super nervous, but just again get excited. And I think right before those races, you're like, oh no, like I don't want to do this anymore because it's so nerve wracking and you don't know what's going to happen. But trying to remind yourself that this is all the training, like this is why you've trained so hard and this is what you've been excited for so long. So yeah, just gonna try to relax and then remember that this is why we do it and I actually like doing it. So
You've ran at a bunch of different NCAA national championship meets throughout the years, outdoors, indoors, cross. What do you feel like you've learned from the previous editions that you're taking with you into your final run at Hayward?
I think tactically I've done pretty well, with the exception of maybe this past indoor finals. So I kind of just want to stay in the rhythm of what I know I've been doing and trust myself and trust my racing instincts. So I try not to overthink like how I'm going to race or what I'm going to do, because I know once I get into the race, I like it kind of comes to me. So I think just taking that experience and really trusting myself based on all those other races and all the other finals I've made, that's kind of what I'm hoping to do.
When you think back to an NCAA meet, whether it's on the grass, on the track, which one do you feel like you walked away and you were like, okay, I leveled up, I learned a lot, I'm excited to go at this again whenever I get another opportunity?
Definitely my sophomore year indoor NCAAs. I was 22, I think, on the descending order list in the mile, which at that time I didn't even think really I was going to be a miler. I came in and I was a bit more like strength based, and I did well in cross. So my coaches thought I was going to be more of a 5K, 10K runner. But I ended up making it in the mile, sophomore year NCAAs. And I was just like, I really hope I can make the final. Like, didn't really think I could, but thought I had a shot. And I wasn't nervous at all because like, it was like, I was just so happy to be there. But then I made the final and I was like, okay, I just have to beat 2 more people and I'll get All-American. And then that race I ended up being 4th. So that was like a big shock. And then from there on, I felt like I was in another like level, and I ran a fast 1500 after that. So that's when I knew I could be nationally competitive, and it happened a lot sooner than I thought. But just that one race made a huge difference, I'd say, in the rest of my running career.
I feel like throughout your time, Margot, in the NCAA, we've seen so many different evolutions on the women's side. You've seen Caitlin Tui, you've seen Parker Valby. Now we're kind of in the era where I feel like the mile record or 1500 record gets lowered all the time. And then we're also kind of approaching an era where we see a high schooler like Jane Hedegren literally run 14:58 before she even steps foot in the NCAA. And I feel like every year or two, there's like a distinct shift. What's it been like to be a part of like probably 3 or 4 unique, every year is different type looks within the NCAA?
Yeah, it definitely seems like there's always one person that raises the bar, whether it was Caitlin Tui, Parker Valby, or Maya Ramsden. And then once one person does it, either that season or the next year, so many more people kind of raise the bar too. So that's been cool to see. And I feel like it's having people run so fast in the NCAA and having so much high level competition in the NCAA with so many more like international students or 6th or 7th years. It's almost become like a mini pro league, it seems like. So I think it's forcing everybody to kind of level up. If you want to make a national meet or even a regional meet, you have to be so much faster than even what it was my freshman year. So I think it's helped me, and it's definitely hopefully preparing us for the next stage when you're competing at like high level international competitions. I think right now the NCAA is a lot more similar to what pro competition is like than it ever was before.
Let's go back. I'm like debating whether I want to talk about some races this season or go back in time. Let's go back in time, give some context to the Margot I'm talking with today. So how'd you get your start in the sport, and what was your first impression of the sport of running?
So I ran in middle school because it was the only sport my middle school like really offered to compete for the school, but wasn't really training. It would just kind of race. I remember we used to like run and go hide behind the school and then come back. But that was my start, and I really liked racing then, but I wasn't competing like really well or taking it super seriously. And at that time, I was also swimming. So that was more what I thought I was going to do in high school. until maybe summer going into my freshman year, my older siblings did cross country, so I was training for cross country. And then I got to high school and my team wasn't very good, but it was very small, and we competed against other really small schools. So I did really well compared to like the other schools we were competing against, but it still wasn't super serious. And I still kind of thought I was going to be a swimmer until I realized probably a little too short to be a swimmer. But yeah, then I'd say like sophomore year, I got even more into it and really kind of had a breakthrough and realized I wanted to do it in college my junior year. But before that, I knew I really liked running and I really liked racing, but I wasn't going to like that many national meets, and I wasn't competing at our state championships because I was at a private school. So yeah, I'd say it was kind of a slow burn into it. And then my junior year, I realized I was going to take it to the next level.
You mentioned your older siblings did cross country. At what point did you start to pass them and become better as a younger sibling?
Well, my sister was never very good, so I think I was always better than her. But my brother actually ran. He walked on to the team at Dartmouth College his sophomore year. So I think right now I'm getting better than him because he's actually in the Army and he's in Ranger school. So he hasn't run in a while.
Wow.
And
He's trying
yeah,
to become an Army Ranger?
so
Holy
we've been
smokes.
talking like at what distance could I beat you in a race? And we're trying to figure that out. But I think at this point, I could beat him in most distances.
I can assume based on the fact that you're one of the best runners in the country, not just in the NCAA, but I feel like you're getting really, really fast to the point where when you're a pro, you'll be able to mix it up. And then your brother is in Ranger school. Like, I want to meet your parents, one, but two, like, how were you guys raised? Was it a competitive household? And what were some of the dynamics growing up? Because, yeah, most families don't have a kid who's a top runner in the NCAA, a kid who goes to Dartmouth, a kid who's in Ranger school. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think my mom ran, but she never really talks about it. So she kind of just wanted to let us have our own thing and not really be like, oh, I did this too. And she let me kind of find running on my own, maybe encouraged me a little bit to like sign up for cross country. But she is definitely very focused on academics. And so that's like my older siblings are both went to Ivy Leagues and they're very into school. And I think she kind of wanted me to be a little more into school. But now as I'm getting better at running, she really follows along with running and she likes it. But I think, especially when I was younger, she didn't want me to be doing too much too soon. So I think that was super beneficial and really wanted me focusing on my schoolwork when I was younger. But yeah, now she's more into the like competitive running.
You mentioned that kind of turning point in high school, junior year, where you figured you wanted to take it to the next level, running college. Was there a specific race in high school or a specific conversation with a coach or a family member where you thought, one, I'm good enough to do it, but two, this is actually something I want to pursue and put my time and energy into?
Yeah, there was one cross country race. It was like Mayor's Cup. You probably don't know what it is, but it's at Franklin Park in Boston. And it's more of like a semi-pro race. So I did it separate from my school. But Sydney Maschiarelli was racing, who she was in also my small school league, which was so random to have such a good runner in that league. So I was always getting beat by her. And she had won, I think, Foot Locker the year before. So that race, I beat her and ran a really fast time on that course. And that's when I realized like it was much better than any other race I had ever run. And that's where I was thinking about qualifying for Foot Locker myself. And that's when college, right after that race, I was a little overwhelmed because no college coaches had reached out to me before that. And then all of a sudden they were DMing me and I was like, what? I didn't realize they did this. But yeah, it was definitely that one race that kind of changed things.
Obviously, now when people think about Virginia, they think of Vin and taking over the coaching job a few years ago. Were you aware when you were being recruited or when you came to Virginia, his rich history in the sport, and what's it like to have kind of a godfather of the sport of running as a coach?
Yeah, I was interested in Virginia before, just as like an academic school, not really thinking about the running program. But then my high school coach told me that Vin had just like become the coach at Virginia and was looking to rebuild the program. And I thought that was really like that's what caught my interest is building the program. And I started to learn about Vin, and I was like realized it was gonna be he was gonna help like turn Virginia around. So yeah, definitely Vin caught my interest at first, and then the more I looked at the school and talked to the people on the team, I really bought into the idea of building a program, and I think Vin was like the perfect person to do that because he has such a good reputation, and most people that were getting recruited knew about that, and so that helped a lot.
Give me some fun Vin stories. I've personally experienced when he's at meets and he's at the hotel, you can find him ripping in the gym on the elliptical. Any other good Vin stories?
Yeah, the elliptical is really funny. When I broke my tailbone my freshman year, and they had me on the elliptical, and there's a picture of me and Vin ellipticaling together, which is funny. But yeah, I it was funny when he okay, well, I feel bad for him, but he had to get Achilles surgery, and then he was on this scooter at meets, which we were laughing about, which we probably should have been, but
From the perspective of like rich wisdom and history, he's coached so many good athletes over the years. How often do you talk to him about either previous athletes he's coached, his own wisdom from the sport, and how much of your coach athlete relationship with him is like very practical, like what's the workout versus like more philosophical, how do I get better at running, type conversations?
yeah, with workouts, I more work with Joelle day to day. Um, and with Vin, I could talk to him about bigger picture stuff. And one athlete he talks about a lot is Lauren Fleshman, and I always like hearing about her. And anytime he's compared me to her, that is good to hear. And even Nicole, who used to coach, she was at UVA. She was a really great athlete. So hearing about her time being coached by him was also really interesting.
Take me through, we talked about high school, you get to college, you go to UVA. Take me through kind of the progression, freshman to senior year. Give some context to the listener, some of the things you've done throughout the years and some of the ways you've grown as an athlete in person over the past 4 years and getting yourself in a spot where, a month ago, you're one of the top contenders in the NCAA.
Yeah, I feel like I came to college not really knowing as much about training as other people. I definitely didn't count my mileage in high school, and that was a new thing. And even doing high mileage, I now I'm pretty high mileage, and that's probably like I'd say the most important part of my training. And I had no idea about that my freshman year. So I think just like building consistent training and building up volume over the years has been super helpful. I came in kind of just I'd like go for my run, do the workouts, and it felt really I had a hard time adjusting my first semester because I was tired all the time. I wasn't used to doing 2 workouts a week, and I wasn't used to training with people faster than me. So that was a tough adjustment. And then by spring of my freshman year, I got better at the volume and got better at handling 2 workouts a week and training with people faster than me. And so since then, I've kind of focused on staying consistent and keeping like increasing my volume because that's really worked well for me. And I'd say just the like consistency in college has been way different from what I was doing in high school, and I think that's helped me improve every single year.
Margot, I read something that you don't use a GPS watch. Is this true? Or am I reading something wrong?
I have a GPS watch, but I don't use the GPS on the GPS watch.
Yeah, tell me about this.
Well, for one, I'm always losing things. So I have lost my GPS watch a couple times, but I found it. So I also have this Timex watch that I like to use. And so I typically just run on time, and I'll call like 60 minutes, 8 miles, or 70 minutes, 9 miles, which doesn't make sense because But I don't like to really think about my pace. And I think the best way to run based on feel is to not know the pace you're running at all. And I think I get pretty close when I'm adding up my mileage to what I'm actually doing, but I don't know exactly what I'm doing. And I think it's a good way to be. It keeps me kind of relaxed about training. And I do use the GPS watch for tempos. That's the only thing I use it for. But yeah, I like my favorite thing other than racing is just going out for like a nice run. And I don't like the GPS beeping every mile, and I don't like knowing what I'm doing. So yeah, just my trusty Timex works for me.
What are the biggest ways you think you've grown from doing that? And do you feel like you have a really good sense of like internal pace and clock because of it? I'd imagine that's the case.
Honestly, no, because sometimes when I'm running with people with a GPS watch, I am like, oh, we must be going like 7-minute pace. And they're like, no, 8-minute pace. I'm like, oh. But I think more so than knowing the pace I'm going, it helps me like understand my body really well. And I have never been like, I haven't had a serious injury other than Achilles tendonitis this year. And it didn't even take me out for a full season. So I think I've been really good about not overdoing it and just taking my easy runs easy. It helps me to never overdo it. I'm not super tired for workouts. I still get the volume in, but yeah, I think it's just helped me stay consistent and know when to like pull back and when it's time to just enjoy a run rather than think about your pace or your heart rate.
What do you feel like, you mentioned high mileage, what do you feel like are some of the big leverages you have in training and some of the things that make you the runner who you are?
I think I'm pretty durable, so that allows me to like run a lot of mileage. I don't really like cross training, so I'm not really on that wave, and I just love like going out for a run, and I feel like I can push in workouts, but again, I don't usually overdo it. And I think that's just allowed me to have super consistent training, and I'm not like having 1 week where I go 30 miles and 1 week where I go 80 miles. It's just back to back weeks. And yeah, just building on everything. And I think, yeah, again, just like the durability and the consistency has served me well for like my entire college career.
What would you say to a top athlete that out there, graduating this month, looking forward to college in a few months? What's the piece of advice to someone who's like leaving the NCAA for someone who would come into the NCAA?
I think the NCAA right now is very different than when I came in. So for someone coming in, I'd say start with smaller goals and look at your conference and what it takes to do well there. Because it can be super overwhelming when you're looking like at all the fast times everybody's running, what it takes to get to NCAAs, what it takes to get regionals. So I think just focus on small goals at first and improving, and eventually the bigger stuff will come. But it's just too overwhelming to pay attention to everybody else in the NCAA and just how fast everyone is running, especially coming in. So I'd say your freshman year, if you're equaling or improving on your high school times, you're doing pretty well. And then later on, you can focus on the making the NCAAs and how fast everybody else is running, and then maybe start comparing yourself. But I don't think when you first come in, it's time to compare yourself to the best people in the NCAA, because some of them are 22 to 25, and you're an 18-year-old freshman who's just getting adjusted.
I want to talk about the 2025 Penn Relays. remarkable race, sensational anchor leg. You split 421.46. You win it for the first time, the DMR for UVA, first time since 1982. What was your thought when someone goes, you just split 421? And what was your thought when you crossed the finish line?
Joel told me, my coach told me I split 421, but I heard 425. And I was like, oh, good. Like, yay. And I was happy we won. And I didn't realize I had run that fast. And the race it hurt really bad. It felt so hard. And then in an interview after, someone said I split 421. I don't know if that's right, but then afterwards I confirmed that. And my first thought was, okay, that makes sense, because it was a difficult race, and I knew the people I was running with were really incredible runners, and I had to catch up a bit and then have a good kick at the end. So yeah, I was really happy with the split, and then obviously so happy with the win. That was probably one of the coolest races I've ever been a part of.
I feel like Penn Relays, specifically all across the country, but I feel like Northeast and Midwest, it matters a lot to those schools. Penn Relays, getting a wheel for you, final year, you go there, you win it. You're going to be a part of UVA's legacy, winning one since 1982 and doing so in the fashion that you did, beating two competitors who were in front of you. Like, how cool was it with the roar of the crowd? A lot of people there. Like, yeah. What was it like?
It was so cool. I honestly didn't know what Penn Relays was in high school, but my entire time at Virginia, it has been a really big deal to us. And I thought last year was the year we were going to be able to do it, because we seemed to have all the pieces and we just did not get it on the day. And I love, like, my freshman year, we had a really good DMR that made nationals, and I loved the DMR, and like the idea of anchoring a DMR to a win was something that has been exciting to me for all of college. And I kind of thought that had slipped away a little after not making it indoors. But then for it just to come together on that day, we didn't go into it being like, we have the team that's definitely going to win. We thought we would be in the mix, and we're like, okay, maybe top 3. And then that was just so unexpected, and it was just so happy and such a good group of people to do it with. So yeah, it was really cool, and getting to celebrate with like people on my team. And Annie came in, our 800 runner, as a 5th year from Dartmouth, and we had kind of not the greatest indoor race, and doing it with her and Tatum David and our 400 runner, everybody just did exactly what they needed to do. So it was really cool.
This year, less than a month ago till NCAAs, what would it mean to win a title?
A lot. I have wanted, like, I really, really thought I could and wanted to win in indoors, and I had my worst nationals performance I've had. So I'm kind of trying to not put too much pressure on it, because I think in indoors, I was like, my only goal is winning, and I'm not happy with anything else. So I'm going to try to reel that in a little bit. But in the back of my mind, I know that's like, I want to win more than anything. And I'm so competitive, and I like running fast times. But for me, the most important thing is beating people. And if I run a fast time in a race and don't win, I'm happy, but winning is probably the most important thing to me. So winning an NCAA title it would be like the best way to go out.
How often do you visualize and dream about that mental picture in your head of crossing the finish line in Hayward, knowing no one else is ahead of you?
Yeah, at this stage in the season, I don't think about it as much. I think more when I'm doing my base training and more of the boring stuff, that's when I'm visualizing it, because you need a motivator. But now at this point, I'm more thinking, okay, what are the steps I need to do to get there and to put myself in the best position there? But yeah, during the winter months when I was at home and it was freezing and windy and I was doing slow tempos, and that's when I'm visualizing winning that title.
For you, what does it mean to you to, regardless of what happened next month at Hayward, like you've added a legacy to UVA, your school record holder, I think your 15-time from Raleigh Relays was fourth fastest in NCAA history. You won a, Penn Relays for them. You anchored that. Like, what does it mean to you to contribute to the school that you've gone to?
Yeah, it's been really cool to like contribute to UVA's program building, and as much as I want to win NCAAs, it's also kind of a cherry on top to like a really good college career and a really good end of season or last season with winning Penn Relays and winning ACCs as a team. I've gotten to see the progression of UVA track, and there's been like low times and there's been really high times, but compared to where we were at as a team freshman year to now, it's so different and the culture has changed, and we're focused on being a winning team. And to have contributed to that has been really awesome. And that's exactly why I came to UVA. So it's cool to have end and say that I've done it.
Totally. Final serious question for you, Margot. For those who have listened to our conversation, what's the final takeaway message that you want to leave with them today?
Maybe don't compare your progress to other people's, which I need to listen to myself, but just keeping with consistent training and trusting your training rather than constantly comparing to other people or how fast other people are progressing or whether you're plateauing or having big drops. I think sometimes the timing of that can be random and it's very individual. So focus on your training and don't get too worried with what everyone else is doing around you.
Margot, final question for you. The question I ask every single guest on every single episode. If you had Gordon Ramsay coming over to your house for dinner, what would you personally choose to make for him?
I'm not a great cook, so maybe pancakes, because that's probably what I make the most. I went through a phase in high school when I made and ate pancakes every day. So I'd say that. Hopefully he wouldn't judge that too much.
Margot, thank you so much for taking the time to chat and chop it up. I remember I first saw, it's a super quick story. So Nate Mountain grew up in Ohio. So we raced each other a little bit in high school. Don't ask who won. I think everyone can assume based on how good he is. And I remember sitting and watching your race at NCAA's in Austin, because that was my first ever NCAA meet, because I'd moved to Austin that week. And him and a few other UVA people would be like, oh, watch out for her. She's going to be really good. So I feel like I've followed your career since then, and I've wanted to have you on the podcast. So it's a privilege to finally get you on. And it's been so cool to see your progression in the sport. And it's been an honor talking to you today. So thank you for everything.
Thank you so much.